welcome back to the Mediocre Alaskan Podcast. This week I am out of town, and so I'm going to do a 3-part series as we get prepared for Sitka Blacktail rut hunting. So episode 235, which this one is going to be a replay of episode 117, which I talked with my buddy Ryan about hunting muskegs. It's going to be the first part in a 3-part series. Wednesday I'm going to release Blacktail number 2, which is how to call Sitka Blacktail deer. And then on Friday I'm going to have a Blacktail number 3, which is success, which it's kind of a recap when I'm on the beach and I have successfully taken a deer. And so just kind of walking through kind of the stuff that I applied during the week, which is good. So this episode comes from 2019. It's from November. And enjoy. Make sure you check out the mediocrealaskan.com. There's some information on there in a separate spot where I have some other tips that I've put together of things that have worked for me. There's a lot of different techniques that people love or things that people look at, and these just happen to be things that I've found to be successful from the last couple of years of hunting. So enjoy. All right, so here with Ryan John. This is third time? Second time?
I think it's the third, yeah.
Third time? Excellent, good. Going to talk about muskeg hunting here in Southeast Alaska, kind of breaking down the rut. So, first of all, thanks for being on here again. And how's the rut? How's the muskeg experience been so far for you?
It's been pretty slow for me. Pretty slow. Passed on one small spike buck last weekend. Couldn't get myself to go out the other weekend, and then the weekend before that it was beautiful, and I went up and for a few days and helped a friend out with a goat hunt, so I didn't go on that one, but hopefully this weekend I'll have some better luck. So yeah. We'll see.
What time of year is kind of your favorite? People kind of look at Halloween as either the start of it or like the day to be out there for sure. Are you a first part of rut a little before Halloween? Are you a Halloween guy? Are you all the way through till Thanksgiving? What's kind of your ideal time to go out?
Ideal is when, for me, is when late October to about the 1st of November. I mean, I'm going to be out there regardless. So, but my favorite time, and I've seen deer moving late October, and this year actually that's been a little different for me. So it's just been like first week in November is when I've actually seen some deer move this year. So it kind of varies, but definitely like to be out there before it gets going off, and then during, of course. So anywhere from late October to the beginning of November. So
last year I didn't get a rut deer. I got a deer on the opening weekend, and that was it for the entire year. And I think part of my mistake was I was getting after it hard in September. Because 2 years ago I got 4 bucks, and so I thought I was really cool. I thought it was just, I'm going to start filming these things, and I got it figured out. So I got a real humbling experience. So I was every weekend in September I was camping, and in October. So by the time, late October, early November showed up, like I was already kind of exhausted, right? I mean, it's only the weekend, but you just put a lot of time. You don't see any stuff, and you start to get a little discouraged. And all of a sudden, it's Halloween, and then you don't get one. You're like, oh my gosh, other people are getting them, and then this is supposed to be the best time, and I'm not seeing one. And you start to it gets away from you. And then I think by the time November came, I wasn't as focused, and I wasn't hunting as well, and then ended up with nothing. It's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
But this year's been nice, which is good. But I think I've been more focused on hunting each day and hunting better. So, what are some of the things that you look for when you're going to a muskeg or hunting this time of year? As far as like your mental approach and then the technique.
So this time of year, I like the weather to be nice, but lots of times that doesn't happen. Last year we had what seemed like an awesome October and decent November. This year it's been okay. So the weather, but like when I'm scouting out an area, like on X or Google Earth, path of least resistance, I kind of like to work the muskegs and the surrounding areas. And like when I'm hiking in, try to find the spot that's less brushy that you can't tell on the maps. Definitely difficult. Sometimes you just get stuck in that stuff, and then check the contour lines, of course, and all that good stuff. So kind of look for a little bit of everything. But like we were talking earlier, we always picture like I have to stop and slow myself down because I'm always in a rush to get to the muskeg. That's where the open area is. I picture a deer's going to be waiting for me, and that's never the case.
Mm-hmm.
So typically I'll get to like an open area muskeg as quietly and as quickly as I can, and occasionally jump deer on the way there. Sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't. Mm-hmm. And then like this time of the year, I'm really working my call. Sometimes rattling, sometimes grunt, and then just my doe bleat call. Mm-hmm. I've been able to grunt one buck in. That was a few years ago, and then rattling and grunting at the same time. That's I haven't had much luck with that, but the doe call, typically I'm trying to get a doe to come in and then see if something is following her, or lots of times see if just maybe a buck will come in, like this last weekend. Got to a spot, waited. I was still kind of behind some cover, so I could still see what was going on. Try to stay out of sight, of course, and then just started blowing on my deer call a little bit here and there, a couple sequences, and then just kind of waited. And it could take them a while to come in. You could hear them right off the bat, so you just kind of never know.
I had heard somewhere, maybe I invented it, I don't know, I guess it makes some sense, but sometimes things make sense to you, but they don't actually happen like that out in nature. But a risk that might be run by rattling is that if it's a really aggressive rattle, that a smaller buck might just flee. And so if there's a buck around there that's pretty big, that's curious, it might come to it, but it might sound like how I would react to two people who are about ready to fight, who are like MMA fighters. Yeah, I'm out of there, right? I'm not coming over to see what's going on there. So are there concerns when it comes to rattling, or is that not anything that you really worry about?
For me, there is. I definitely don't try to do it like what you see on outdoor TV, where they're just getting with it and just sounds like two bucks are just going at it, because I have hiked around a lot, and I've never, ever seen just two bucks going at it like that. Just super aggressive, like what you're saying. So I just kind of, just a little toy, little here, little there. Occasionally when I'm doing that, I'll move some brush around, and I have yet to get anything to come in. But it definitely sounds real, but I'm not getting with it super aggressive, just a little bit, because I have seen bucks kind of spar, but they're never like kicking one down on the ground or whatever and just getting super aggressive. So, but I have tried it, no luck yet. So I haven't tried it this year. So
yeah, I tried it a little bit, and the rattle that I'm using is from a wolf kill that had it's a nice 3-point that has eye guards on both sides. So the first time I did it, I thought, okay, well, when the antlers are going to come together, they're going to kind of like hit and lock horns,
kind of clash.
Yeah, and so I did that, and man, I just got one of those eye guards right in my thumb.
Oh yeah,
and oh man, it hurt. It obviously didn't break the skin or anything, but I thought, dude, you just kind of bite the lip for a second. But I'm going to try to walk through. I got Onyx on my laptop in front of it, so I'm going to try to walk through a situation here without using too many pronouns, so that people can kind of listen and kind of know what I'm talking about. So it doesn't really matter where I'm at, but I'm just going to look at some approaches for this. So we got a road right here that's drivable. There are 4 muskegs that are relatively close to the road. When you're looking and you're scouting on here, are you looking at the furthest one just because the people are going to attack this one because it's easy and close? Are you looking at circling through the close one, getting to the next one? Are you looking at walking through brush to the back one and working your way forward? Or what's your plan from the road if you got a series of 3 or 4 muskegs?
For me, it's really hard to pass up not at least checking it out. Just because if there's a nearby doe or if there's a nearby buck that could possibly be in the area, regardless if it's close to the road or not. Deer are on the road all the time, so why wouldn't they be in that first muskeg as well, regardless of how many people have walked through it? So for me, I would definitely at least check it out just a little bit. If it's too far out of the way and I got one certain area on my mind, I'll just skip it, and then maybe on the way out, just come around if I have the time and daylight. So, so I would kind of just skimp by it first and not spend too much time there, because typically once I have a spot in my mind, I kind of want to get there. But
Yeah. When you are looking at a muskeg that you like, that because I know you like to hike a lot, and so you'd be willing to go a little bit further, are you looking for like a muskeg that's backed up against some what looks like deep timber? Are you looking more at a lower swampy area? Are you looking, like, what are the contours or what are the things that make a muskeg look really good to you?
That's actually sometimes kind of hard to tell or just on any of these maps, but I typically am just looking for the bigger muskegs, and then like the smaller pockets for some reason, like in the smaller pockets and the surrounding bigger muskegs. If it's on the way, I definitely like to hit those smaller pockets, because I think there's more coverage in there for the deer, and they can hear what's coming. It doesn't always work out, but I have called deer in the smaller pockets too. So, but yeah, as long as there's just some, for me, as long as there's just some sort of muskeg there, I typically don't pay attention to what's around me. I don't know if that's worked in my favor or not. I just typically don't.
Yeah. It's always hard to tell exactly what works and what doesn't. You can accidentally get on a deer and you think that you did something right.
Yeah.
Which sometimes makes you then, because I was successful, using this river as a sound corridor, like I'm on this side, and then as soon as I cross the river, now I'm in a different sound area, which is closer to the muskeg, which, because it worked out, I think, oh, that was smart. It wasn't really what I was thinking at the time, but in hindsight, I'm like, dude, that's brilliant. I might then do that some other time. What I failed to do last year, and I realized that I was looking for just a nice muskeg, getting to the muskeg, sitting, and then have that open area, because it was the most convenient for me to be able to see. And I just imagined a buck in the muskeg, because you go to the muskeg, you walk the muskeg. But like you were saying, with those smaller in-between areas, if I was a deer, that's where I'd live, right? And you might walk through a muskeg, which I think maybe is, where you're seeing them, and you get the nice one that's out in the muskeg. But hunting those transition areas, the smaller ones, and then there's always that trail that's in the brush that goes all the way around the muskeg. And do you walk in those, or do you walk right on the edge of the muskeg when you get there? Or do you stop as soon as you reach the muskeg and call from there?
I'll typically, so when I'm approaching a muskeg, I will like to stop before I get to the actual muskeg. That way I'm not sitting right in it, and then I'm not totally exposing myself. So I like to keep myself a little bit of cover. So still stay in the vegetation a little bit. I mean, there's always that buckbrush around or some trees. So definitely try to keep myself concealed. And then once I get to there, I get comfortable, and like this year, it could happen really fast. So I already have an arrow knocked, and I got my bow hanging in the tree. So I'm waiting, I'm getting ready, and maybe that's why I haven't seen deer, because I'm actually ready for it. So, so once I'm ready, I kind of look around, see if there's anything moving, and then from there, I'll try a couple sequences on the call. It's hard for me to sit still, so maybe I'm too impatient, but I'm typically a run and gun type of guy, so it's hard for me to sit still for a while. So 10 minutes after not hearing anything other than the birds, I mean, it's 10-15 minutes, it's time for me to go. So I'll move on to the next one, and then sometimes, like, if I have to get across rather than going all the way around the muskeg, I'll just skirt around the edges, or if I'm just in a hurry to get back to the truck, I'll just go right through it, just because if you jump something, awesome. If not, then didn't save any time by going around.
Yeah.
So
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. I was hesitant about having to get a new phone and a new phone number, but with Mint, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone and your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and to get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That is mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
The second buck that I got during rut was we're walking through the muskeg, and it was kind of in a transition area between, like, there was a larger muskeg that kind of like almost a butterfly look, and so like in the middle there was a little bit of trees, and so we emerged on the other side of the muskeg, but we were in the middle of the muskeg, and the deer was in the muskeg too, and so I think that may have ruined my idea of how program is supposed to run, and so I was just walk through the muskeg, but now again, like I said, that I've worked those edges a lot more. And it's amazing how much better you can see when you're not in the muskeg than in the muskeg. Mm-hmm. You're in the muskeg, you look toward the brush, you can't see anything. Unless there's movement, you see antlers, you see something like that. It's so hard to see back in the brush. But if you are in one of those spots on the trail that goes around or in one of their beds, you can see out into the muskeg and you can pick apart movement so much easier. And it's just a huge difference. And so you can't see the entire muskeg, but you can see, to the left, to the right in front of you. It makes a huge difference, and it makes sense that that's where deer would bed. But it would be impossible to try to pick out or see a bed from inside the muskeg.
Yeah, very, very true. Very true.
So this approach that I made on the muskeg, I went way out of my way because of wind. How much attention do you pay to wind compared to, because it always ruins stalks, but are you just as concerned about wind as you are when you're alpine hunting, or how much concern does wind play when you're hunting in the rut, when you're going toward muskegs?
So right now, just because I've started bow hunting and I'm still new to it, in the past I've never paid attention to wind. I mean, it's just never occurred to me, especially this time of year. I think that that if the deer are rutting and they're rutting super hard, and I just don't know if they pay attention to it or what. So, but this year I have been paying attention to the wind a little bit more. I definitely want to approach from the where there's, so like here, if the wind's pushing there, and then I definitely want to approach from the downwind side of it. That way they don't catch my scent. Mm-hmm. In the alpine, I definitely want to pay attention on the stalk, from what I've noticed. So it's kind of hard to tell because it's always windy up there. So, and you never know what it's going to do.
Yeah, swirls a lot.
Yeah,
tough.
It makes for fun hunting. So, but yeah, I've paid attention to it quite a bit more this year than I typically have. So it's kind of hard to approach it. I mean, especially if you're coming in from the upwind side of it, and then you got to backtrack around because those deer, their hearing is excellent, so they're definitely going to hear you.
Yeah.
They're going to know something's up, so it's just tough.
Yeah, I'd heard people who aren't as concerned because, like you said, they're rutting, and so their tolerance for movement sometimes is, sometimes you can just walk up to them and they're just like, I can't even think right now. Mm-hmm. But I do like the premise and the skill of, no, you might as well think about it and always consider it that way like it's just built into your hunting program, and no matter where you're hunting or when you're hunting, that you're considering about the wind. And so I've done that, and I know some people who are absolutely meticulous. They don't matter. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. You always worry about that, and so that was why I went in this way, and it was crazy. I just said this way, and you can't see that. But so I went a little bit to the east of the muskeg that I wanted to go to, and I was approaching it at about the midway point of the muskeg, rather than coming up from the south directly into it, which is the direction of the wind. Came in from the east, and there was a rise. There was a little bit of an elevation, maybe a 10-foot sort of up this embankment from a swamp, and then there were a couple of really nice beds in there, and I couldn't see the muskeg from some of those beds. Do you ever walk? If that trail that goes around the muskeg, do you ever walk that if it's easier to get around, or do you get a little bit closer so you can see into the muskeg?
I've done both. Those deer, they do make nice trails around it, so it is, and yeah, you do see beds, and you do see a lot of signs just on the edges, in the timber just a little bit, so it is kind of nice to follow it and then kind of work their path to get to the muskeg. So yeah, I've definitely done both.
Yeah.
It's not like that all the time, though. Lots of times in the brush.
It's never like that.
Everything grabbing onto you.
Yeah. What about water? What about do you ever use rivers or streams or anything like that as cover? Do you if you happen to be at a place, like I know during the Alpine sometimes, or even if you're hunting near Ketchikan, sometimes it's nice to time it when there's a float plane going by, to just kind of make more time through the brush, because there's other ambient noise, so you can make go 15, 20 yards pretty fast because the sound's going to get drowned out. Are there any sort of like little, I hate the word life hacks or tricks or those sort of things, but is there anything that you like to do that's kind of something that you learned and thought, man, this is a cool little tip?
No, not really. Rivers, yeah, definitely if you're heading in that direction. They are nice because most of the time it's tall timber around them, so it's a little, I'm not going to say easy walking, but sometimes there's just some nice walking to get to where you're going. You possibly could see a deer in there. I mean, there's always deer sign along the river, so that's definitely something to keep in mind, I guess. So, but as far as any tips or tricks, no. If there's a plane around, I typically get pretty annoyed because that's something I don't want to hear when I'm out hunting. But I mean, they're everywhere around here, so nothing out of the ordinary that I do. Nothing that I can think of right now. Anyway.
You go out there because you want to be by yourself, and sometimes you have these reminders that you're pretty close to a town, or that you're in, or that it's tourism season or something like that. Being on the Alpine, you think you're pretty far back, but there's a float plane that's always going somewhere. So you see a lot of that, or you hear a lot of that in August. And then during rut, like you don't hear hardly any planes, but then you hear one off in the distance a little bit. Even if you're south of town, a little bit, because you're still on the flight path.
Yeah.
And so you hear that plane, like, oh, man, it's a reminder that it's not as remote maybe as you would like. What about once you get a deer down? There are differences in how you process it because it is a rut deer. There's a lot of talk about how rut deer don't taste as good, they don't smell as good, and so you just better just grind it out, except for the backstrap. So, do you prepare it any differently or process it differently?
Typically, I drag all my deer out unless I'm way back in there. I'll quarter it up. I haven't done that in a while. I typically just drag the whole thing out, and then I let it hang for a little bit if it's cold enough out. And then for me, I don't do much of anything different. I'll put them in my meat tubs at home, and then I'll put them in the refrigerator for X amount of days, and just package it up as normal. Nothing. I mean, my back straps do not get thrown in the burger pile. That's a sin. At least for my deer, anyway. Tenderloins, I haven't noticed much of a gamey flavor. even on my big buck I shot 3 years ago, he was full blown rut, and he just tasted just fine.
Yeah.
So, and I let him hang, and it was cold, and did everything that I thought was right. So
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't have any gamey flavor or anything.
Yeah.
So and he was well cleaned out. I mean, got everything out of him. So it was just meat, bones, and hide when he was hanging. So no glands or anything. So
I shot the buck on Sunday, and then yesterday, Tuesday, I had part of the neck as a roast, put it in the crock pot all day,
Oh, yeah.
and I thought, man,
Yeah.
if there's anything that's going to be like your test of whether or not it's going to taste, because you would think that a rut buck with a swollen neck, that would be the worst tasting meat. So I thought, I'm gonna neck roast this because I'd done it once before, and then the membrane in between, it doesn't dissolve all the way, but it does kind of give a little bit, and so you have a nice tender roast, and it tastes pretty good. And I seasoned it, and it wasn't super gamey. I mean, it wasn't backstrap quality, and it wasn't like Alpine,
big fat August buck.
yeah. So, but yeah, it was good, and it was. I think you kind of get the bad name for some of the stuff, and so you can't do that. It's going to taste too bad. Well, I think each buck, varies. It kind of depends on what you're dealing with. So have you had a buck that was like, maybe a little bit more gamey than the other ones?
Not that I can think of, not off the top of my head. I'm not going to say I'm the best at my meat care. I mean, I try to do the best I can, but I mean, always learn something new whenever you're dealing with your venison. So I think that it helps a lot when, like I have some meat tubs at home, and then everything gets separated, and then it gets thrown in the refrigerator for a little bit, let it age a little bit. I think that helps quite a bit. I don't know if it helps with that gaminess flavor. I just can't think of a deer that I've had that real gamey flavor. So
what about they say keep the deer dry, keep the meat dry, keep it dry, keep it dry. There are sometimes when you get a buck and it's raining outside. So how do you? At what point? Well, you said you drag yours out most of the time, but any meat that you do get that does happen to get wet, how do you? Do you only worry about if it's saturated and it's sitting for a while, or if there's like a little bit of mist that gets in there, you're not too worried about it, or do you take a towel or something like that and dry it off before you put it in the tub and sit there, or?
So, yeah, I mean, if it's dumping down rain, I mean, you don't want to throw you don't want to throw it just your meat like in a puddle. I mean, that's gonna go bad quick, especially when it gets warmer during the day. So, I've never taken a paper. Some people have said, take a paper towel and some, I think it's apple cider, and just wipe it around. I don't know what that's gonna do for you. But no, I've just left the hide on the best I can, and then just let it hang if it's cold enough, and that's done pretty well for me. I haven't had any trouble with meat spoilage or anything like that. So.
Yeah, you hear about that a lot, and you also hear about that like citrus spray or something like that.
Yeah.
But then I would think that if that's on the edge of the meat, then I'm not sure. Like, what is that going to flavor the meat a little bit, or like what is that going to do to the outside?
That your guess is as good as mine. I mean, it's to me it would add. I guess a funky flavor to it.
Yeah.
So, but I just don't know what the idea is behind it.
Yeah. So then, if you're doing that to prevent bacteria growing on it, but then you have to cut that stuff off, what would be the difference between cutting the stuff off that you sprayed that now is kind of weird smelling, tasting, versus cutting off the part that you might think has spoiled or has bacteria growing? I don't understand it.
Not too sure. I mean, it's just like, if you take the hide off and then you just let it hang there with the hide off, then you get that it's kind of like dry aging a steak where you get that crust on the outside.
Yeah.
And these deer aren't, in my opinion, aren't big enough to dry age like your backstrap or anything. Just because by the time you cut away all that, I don't even know what to call it, but that crust on the outside, then you're left with something the size of a tenderloin. It's like it almost makes you want to cry.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot left.
Yeah. Just not sure on that one. I've had the best luck just letting them hang in the right. Now, if it's too warm to let them hang outside, and if there's still a bear running around, that's where the meat tubs come in handy. And sometimes I will put a little a rack underneath there to kind of create space from the bottom.
Yeah.
And just let all that blood seep out of there or whatever's left of the actual meat, and that seems to help pretty well. So
yeah. When you say you drag it out, you literally drag it out?
Typically after I gut it. When I got my big deer a few years ago, I wanted to make a mount out of him, so I drug it out whole, and then I gut him on the beach just because I didn't want to. And I was very careful. I didn't drag him over logs. I didn't want the hair to rip out. And I was not that far from the beach, so. I didn't want to foul it up any more than I had to. So, and just to keep it cleaner, just take it to the beach, and I think I even, and then I gut him out on the beach. So typically I don't do that. I'll just gut him out and leave all that stuff in the muskeg and take home the good stuff.
You ever done the backpack?
Cutting the back legs and putting. No, I've heard about it. No, some cases I need to. Some cases I just need to quarter it up and throw it in the backpack. But I just get tunnel vision and just go.
Yeah, I've done the backpack once. I guess there's two ways that you can do that. If you attach the front legs to the hind legs, it looks like the deer is on you, like it's attacking you. But then you get a lot of blood going down the back of the pants.
Yeah, it gets messy.
The one time that I did it, a buddy of mine showed me that if you attach the fronts and the backs, then it creates more like a pouch, and so you don't get as much blood runoff. So like the tail would be on the left side with the hind legs, and then the head and the front legs are off to the right side of you, and it hangs off the back like that.
Yeah.
And so that way it's cupped on the back and it doesn't run down, and that made total sense to me. And I had very minimal blood on my back when my buddy cut that, and I was like, oh, that makes... Yeah. It might be a little bit less comfortable, but, it's a little more clean, I guess. But I don't know, like, if you're dragging it through, if you stumble or fall, whatever, you just kind of let go. Yeah. If you got the deer's the backpack, and then you've got your backpack on the outside, there's a lot of extra stuff going on there.
It's gonna hurt when you fall.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt when you fall.
Can't exactly get rid of it if it's tied around you.
Going down with it, and going through that stuff, man. Coming off a mountain is tough because you got the steepness, but you can go pretty slow. But going through a swampy muskeg, man, that's tough.
Yeah, you find yourself a big hole, and you could be in some trouble.
Yeah, dude. I went into the thigh when I was coming back on Sunday. And I try to stay away from the greenest stuff because that's like the most fertile area, and it seems like it's the most wettest. And so you just kind of walk around those sort of spots. But man, it wasn't even that green, and I just went down in. It was about 2 feet from where a little creek was going through, and so I thought I was good to go. But man, it was I was down.
Did you have the deer on your back?
I boned it out because I got it at like 11 o'clock, and so I had plenty of time, and so I boned it out. And it was a smaller deer, and so there wasn't any mist or anything going on. So I was like, I'm just going to take the extra hour and a half, and just get it all done, leave all that stuff out there.
Yeah,
and then that's a nice thing about you have a Kuiu pack, right?
I have a Kafaru pack.
Kafaru pack, yeah. Just having the frame where you can keep the meat on the outside of it. It's just, last week I was out with a buddy and he got a deer and he had to put it inside his JanSport. I'm just like, ooh, this. And then it settles differently. In my first frame pack, you put it in there in meat bags, but it just settles differently. You can't cinch it up against the back. It's the technology of that.
Yeah.
And just having it spread nice and it's cinched up, and mine's a Stone Glacier, but you go Kafaru, Stone Glacier, it doesn't really matter. They're all good.
Quality, yeah. I actually have the pack where you do have to put it on the inside, but it's got a meat shelf in there, and it works pretty good. I think just the main part is you got to get that meat close to your back as you can. Get the heaviest stuff close to you, and it works great.
So you can still cinch it down. So you got the shelf on it and cinch it. Yeah, it's those packs that are made by hunters that to make it more efficient use the technology. That's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome.
And then you think about the old days.
Yeah,
I'm just like, oh man. Me with my technology. As far as technology goes, when you're moving through, what material is the quietest? As I have Gore-Tex, the Sitka Gore-Tex, and it's just a thin rain gear. But man, that stuff's kind of loud. If you wear, like Grundon's bibs, which some people do when it's really, really wet and rainy, if it's loud, then loud rain, then maybe that's not such a bad idea. but everything's pretty loud.
Everything is loud when you're busting through the brush, especially here. It seems like, because they've all lost their leaves, so they're just bare branches for the most part, and smacking everything. So, for me, I just use the Kuiu reindeer. It's still reindeer, so it's quiet. I don't know if it's the quietest stuff out there. That's the part where finding the path of least resistance is kind of important. As far as noise goes, but sometimes you just can't help it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't. The pants I have, if it's not wet, I've had super good luck with being fairly quiet. And they're just like I don't even know what they're made of, but they're the attack pants from Kuiu, and they're just they're quiet. So
I got a pair of Cabela's something zone whatever, and I think they're supposed to be Gore-Tex. That I think they're still pretty waterproof, but they're a lot warmer, and so I get kind of damp, but that could just be because of the just sheer amounts of sweat and condensation in there. But they are heavier and thicker than the Sitka pants, so I like them. The outside is a little less. I don't think abrasive is the right word, but it makes a little less noise when there's friction on it. So I really like those pants.
yeah.
But yeah, you're not going to be quiet.
No.
But deer aren't quiet either. You just got to
Yeah.
sound more deerish than dudeish when you're moving through that. But it seems like whenever I make like a nice stretch of like 15, 20, 30 yards, I'll then step into a hole and then you get that boot suck. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, dang it. Or you'll step on a stick and it'll snap. And you're like, oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Or just something that sounds more human than anything else. But I don't know. You lose your hat or something like that.
Yeah. Been there.
If it is raining, and Sunday it was raining a little bit, and I didn't put my hood up, I just zipped up my jacket. Because as soon as I put my hood on, I feel like I only hear my hood moving against my hat, and I can't hear how loud I am, and I can't hear anything else. So, do you ever rock the hood, or do you keep the hood down so you can hear?
Most of the time, my hood isn't off. I hear the same thing you hear, just the swishing back and forth, and I feel like I lose a sense just because I like to be able to hear, like especially when I'm calling. So if there's a deer coming in and I can't hear it, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So, but now if I'm heading back to the truck and I'm just completely whooped and hunting is not on the mind anymore and it's nasty out, yeah, the hood's gonna go on and we're just charging through. So, but yeah, most of the time the hood is off.
Yeah. What food-wise, when you're out there, obviously you're going to get hungry. You're going to get the snacks. So do you eat during the transition? Do you eat while you call? When do you do that?
Well, if you ask some of my hunting partners, I am eating all the time. So, yeah, I definitely like to eat. Typically, after I've gotten to the, like for this time of year, typically after I've called and I've kind of, say, given up on an area, and right before I'm about to leave again, I'll have a little snack and then just kind of be quiet with the wrappers. The bad part is everything is in wrappers that we have, and it's just pretty soon you have just your belt pouch that's just full of wrappers, and then one little brush is like, oh man, that definitely doesn't sound like a deer. So
No.
I definitely try to be a little bit little conscious about that. It is hard though, because yeah, you gotta eat to keep moving.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and the if there's not a lot of stuff that's going on, it just makes me that much more hungry. And so I may have had a great breakfast, but if I got some spare time, like man, I'm sitting here waiting.
Snack
sounds pretty good.
Yeah, got some jerky or just whatever.
Do you have any rules about, because I was thinking about this as I was on my way back in, and I was pretty drenched, and I had my deer in the pack, and I was going to hike back out, and so I didn't put the rain jacket back on just because, it's about a mile and a half or so back to the road. The rain jacket is just going to make me super hot. I'm just going to cover ground as fast as I can, and so I took the rain jacket off, put it away, and I'm going through the brush. And I'm getting pretty soaked, but it's a nice fleece that I have on, and so I thought about if this was further away and for some reason like it got dark and then I couldn't get there. Then it's night and I'm not moving and I'm wet and I don't have any other layers. So then it becomes like an emergency situation.
Yeah.
So it's this time of year is a lot. You're a lot closer to it, and you have to keep that sort of stuff in mind because it gets down, it's in the 40s, but if it's raining, like, hypothermia is definitely an issue, and you can get hypothermia during the summers up here. So are there any rules about like keeping one snack with you just in case there's an issue? My dad growing up said never drink the last of your water, always have like a little bit left just in case. And so like the last of the water happens at the truck, and have something at the truck. Is there anything else about food, water, safety that you keep in mind, or rules that you go with?
Just for the day hunts, just like you're saying, things could happen and you could get stuck out there for the night. I typically almost always overpack to a point as far as food goes, and for water, I have one of the water bladder filters, so I just not worried too much about the water. A lot of time I don't even drink that much as I should during the day, but always have something at the boat or either at the truck for when you do get there, in case you are empty and you did hike in a little farther than you thought and you finished your water in there and didn't want to stop. You got something at the truck, whether a Gatorade or a sports drink and some munchies of some sort. So definitely always pack extra. It's a day hunt. It's not like you're hiking with 45, 50-pound pack for an alpine trip. So doesn't hurt to have it. Better to have it and not need it and then need it and not have it type of thing. So
you can have one of those small water filters that it's hardly any weight. Right, it's like a pump thing.
It's like three
so easy. Yeah, keep one of those and keep your Nalgene. It's pretty nice.
And there's water everywhere this time of year. So
you don't have to worry about it at all.
Yeah.
What about what's your favorite snack when you get back to the truck? On Sunday, I was unbelievably happy that I had half a thing of sour cream and onion Pringles.
Oh.
And then I think it was the strawberry banana body armor.
Yeah.
Like, I bought those sarcastically at first because of the Super Bowl commercial that was talking trash about Gatorade, but they're pretty good.
They're really good.
So I have one of those on hand. So what's kind of the treat that's waiting for you back at the truck?
I really like just something cold, just a cold sports drink. I mean, Powerade. I really like those body armors. I've been drinking those, just having a cold one, just at the truck. So as far as food, I'll typically just grab whatever's in my pack or whatever I got in my belt pouch. I always kind of shove a whole bunch of snacks in my belt pouch just for the way down or the way up. So, but just something really cold. And then the food, I'm not. I'll just eat whatever. I'm not a picky eater. So like when we come down from last weekend from the goat hunt, we just had something cold and that was just awesome. But should have got like 3 or 4 of them because we were thirsty.
Yeah. That's the thing about if you're in a boat or you're in a truck. You have unlimited space.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why don't I have more here? Like, how do I not have, a coffee ready to go? How do I not have, a mountain house if I want it, a bunch of snacks? But it just doesn't seem to always happen.
Especially if you have a 45-minute drive back to town or from boat or truck. I mean, it's nice to have something to munch on. So
why would you not?
Yeah, salt and vinegar chips for the boat. And that's definitely
so you got me on the backcountry fuel box on that the bear hunt, man. That's sweet.
It is.
Yeah, I go through like one per trip.
Yeah.
Because you can get like the nice thing about it too is if I go to the store, I'm getting a couple bars, but like of the same thing. If it's like a 2 for or buy 3 for $5 or that'd be a really good deal for here.
Yeah.
Like a 3 for 10 or whatever it is. But it's nice to have the variety
It
too,
really is.
and it's all packed up. But did you eat the crickets from this stuff?
I've not eaten the crickets. I've had a chirp cookie, which is made out of the crickets, and Buddy actually gave that to me before I subscribed to the box, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty good, so I better subscribe. Start getting some goodies. So the nice thing about the box is that, so for a while, when I first started hunting, it was just mainly, you were just grabbing power bars and jerky or whatever, so it was kind of getting consistently the same thing over and over, and then you'd have your mountain house. But now it's nice to have the box and just have a variety and just everything from like those banana bites to like the jerky to even to the crickets, which is something I probably never buy off the shelf. To be honest, I probably never try it. So
it's nice because it's like different times you want different things, and so there's a variety. And this is like the goo things, and so I just want energy. I'm not necessarily hungry, but I could use a little pick me up. and so you hit one of those things,
Yeah.
or you want kind of a bar, or you want, and then you go back to camp, and you didn't think to buy, mac and cheese, but mac and
Yeah.
cheese sounds perfect, and that's what happens to be in the box.
Yeah.
And like that's it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and if it's something that if it's something that you haven't had, for me, I mean, I'm gonna be excited to try it, unless I'm a picky eater. And then I tend to find that I eat more if it's something new and I haven't had, or if it's something that I have had, like from the box, or just picking stuff up off the shelf. That's good. Definitely mixing a variety, and that definitely helps me eat a lot more, which is something you have to do.
I was checking out the coupon that came with it for the sausage. It wasn't lasagna. It was the sausage cheese pasta that came in September or whatever. Do you have that yet?
I haven't had it yet. No.
Dude, it's unbelievable. It was so good.
Oh man.
And so I went online and I was going to get 20% off or whatever, but there was shipping was like $25 to get to Alaska, which is too bad because they ship FedEx. Oh man, I was going to get like one of the boxes, just like get a whole bunch and stock up and use that 20%.
Yep.
But
stock up for next year.
Yeah.
I did have the lasagna on my recent goat trip, and that was pretty good.
Yeah.
That wasn't bad. I did mix a little bit of olive oil in it, and then some elk summer sauce that I just bought at the store. But yeah, that was pretty good because I was hungry. I think we did a total like 18 miles that trip, so that was quite a bit. Yeah, fun. A lot of fun.
Well, anything else you got to add, man, about rut hunting or deer hunting or anything else in general?
Not off the top of my head. Not off the top of my head.
There you go. Thanks again for being on here, man.
Thanks for having me.
Talk to you next time.